Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to In the Flow with River, and I am really excited that you have joined me. So, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Set yourself up for notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook, River Jane Phoenix, and there's even more videos there because I've been doing them for longer. All right, so let's just dive in today's topic. Today I want to talk about failures and mistakes. I'm sure none of you guys have had that experience. Or have you? Maybe some of you guys are like me. I will tell you my journey and struggle with making mistakes and failing. When I was younger, I remember as a kid just really wanting approval. I really wanted to feel like I was enough. And the way I equated my self-worth, for whatever the reason, was in other people's approval of me. And that got kind of like deeply embedded in me. And so making mistakes, which is a part of life, it's a part of living, we know this, that was pretty rough terrain, I'm gonna tell you guys. Because if I would make a mistake, what would happen is I would really spiral down just into the abyss of shame and worthlessness and beating myself up. And I would sit and I would think about what I had done and try and analyze it and go in depth to figure out how can I do this differently next time, because I was trying to pinpoint like the very place where I went wrong. So my focus was on what I had done wrong, not what I'm going to talk about. And what that did is it led me to doing things like this, not trying. I remember, it's funny to tell this story now at 47, but when I was in high school, I was a freshman in high school, and all of my friends were trying out for cheerleading. And I really wanted to do it. Even though I wasn't super coordinated and it just wasn't really what I was good at, it just looked like so much fun. Most of my friends were cheerleaders, or they were at the high school that I went to, Hilltoppers in Glenbard West, Topperettes, so they would dance. And I really wanted to do it. So I go to the first day of tryouts and they're teaching everyone all of the cheers. And I'm looking and I can't really get the clapping thing down, not doing that really right. I'm watching my friends and they're picking it up really quickly and I am not. I mean, I'm really not, you guys. So I go home, not feeling really great about it, but I keep practicing. I'm in my bedroom and I'm practicing that clap. Probably you guys will look, the people that I went to high school with will look and go, you're still not doing it right. And I'm practicing it and I'm trying to do all this stuff. So I go the second day, and that was when I really went, okay, they're kicking it up a notch. I can see who's getting it, and I can see that I wasn't. And I made a decision in that moment. Not the best decision, but I made a decision, and in that moment, this is the decision that I made. I said to my friends, this is so stupid. This is so, back in those days, we would use this word gay, like as in to mean like dumb. You know, this is so gay, this is so stupid, this is so, I don't even want to do this. And so I started just making fun of my friends. I'm like, you guys have to get on a bus and you have to go to all the stupid games. I get to go to the games and hang out and have fun. I don't have to like work. The reality of it was this. I really wanted to do it, but I was afraid of failing. I was afraid of not being enough. And so I didn't try. So all these years later, I still cry about it. I got really upset. I'm just kidding. I really don't. I really don't cry and get upset. But when I am talking to clients of mine that are trying things and they don't feel like they're good at them or they're not going to be good at them, I tell them that story. Because while I don't sit and regret over not being a cheerleader in high school, I do recognize that it was my fear of failing and being embarrassed that stopped me from trying. Yuck. I don't like that. I don't like that. So a couple of years ago, I am watching Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, one of my favorite shows. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. One of my favorite shows. and Pema Chodron was on. And for those of you who might not know who she is, she's written many books, and she's a Zen Buddhist monk who has a hilarious sense of humor. And she had given a speech at Naropa University for her granddaughter. She was graduating. This was, I believe, in 2014. Morning coffee in my favorite mug. So she's giving a speech, and the speech was titled Fail, Fail Better, Fail Greatly, I think. And in the speech, she was talking about it on Oprah Super Soul Sunday. She was talking about how in this culture and in our society, we're not taught how to fail. We're taught how to succeed, and success is put kind of as the pinnacle of what everyone should strive for. But we need to be taught how to fail. We need to be taught how to make mistakes, because there's this beautiful gem in failure and in mistakes if we look for it, which is the opportunity to learn. The opportunity to look and say, okay, well, that didn't work, but let me look at this again, and let me try this again. So I'm listening to this, and then at around the same time, Brene Brown's book called Daring Greatly comes out. And in that book, she reads the quote from Theodore Roosevelt. Maybe some of you have read it. I highly recommend you go and get it. It's called The Man in the Arena. And that was sparked after she had given her TED Talk, and her first TED Talk had gone viral, and she had had a lot of criticism, and a lot of people were saying, of course you need to embrace vulnerability because of this, that, and the other thing, and just making some really hurtful and truly unkind comments. And she needed to find a way to pick herself up. And she came across the Theodore Roosevelt quote, and that was where it talked about, it's the man in the arena whose face is marred by blood, but who is valiantly trying. And so I started to do some research on kind of the difference between people who are successful versus people who don't reach success. And there seems to be this key component that people who are successful, they really embrace mistakes. They have an openness and acceptance where making mistakes and failing is not only allowed, but it's not punished, and it's looked at as an opportunity for everyone to grow. I love, I think her name is Sheryl Sandberg. She's the CEO of Facebook. And she was talking about how one of the interns had made a mistake in her book. And she was talking about how they have a culture at Facebook where when somebody makes a mistake, they all sit down and they look at it and they say, okay, how can we look at this and do it a bit differently? Because anybody could have done this. So when mistakes are welcomed and failure is an option, guess what? We have a willingness to try. And that's a whole game changer. That's a whole shift in a paradigm when we start saying to ourselves, I'm going to embrace mistakes and failures, because in so doing, that means A, I'm trying, B, I'm willing to learn, and C, I'm imperfect, right? And we all are. We all know this. One of the things on a really personal note, more recently, I have had the ideas of doing these videos for a really long time. I've known that I want to share the lessons and the things that I've learned, the things that I share with my clients, and the things that I am passionate talking about for a really long time. And it was truly my fear of failure, making mistakes, not having it be perfect. I'm not somebody that's techno savvy. I don't care to spend my time learning to be techno savvy. I can get on my phone and do what I would need it to do on my computer. And then I'd rather be talking to people, riding my bike, playing with my dog, on my yoga mat, gardening in nature. And I was really afraid initially that I would screw it up, that I didn't know what I was doing. I was going to make a mistake. And then I thought, so what? There's a learning curve to everything. And probably what will happen is I'll start doing this and I'll learn. And last night I was watching YouTube videos for this website to create all sorts of cool things. And I was looking at it going, oh, this should be fun. So I shifted my thinking to start saying mistakes are okay. And what changed then were a couple of really powerful things. When I make a mistake or I fail or I screw up, I notice that I'm quicker to recognize it now. It's like I can see it because I'm not going, oh, I don't want to see it, I don't want to see it, I don't want to see it. It's like, oh, I can see it. I want to focus more on the correction and how to fix it or how to improve it or how to change it. So instead of having my energy being focused on the problem, I'm shifting my energy towards the solution, because remember, where attention goes, energy flows. So I started shifting my attention to the solution, not the problem. So that started to make me feel better. And then what started to happen was, as time went on and the more I practiced it, I don't freak out about making mistakes. I just kind of go, oh well. Because the reality of this is too, you guys, we know this, most mistakes, 99.9% of them are really not life-damaging mistakes. They're really not. Some of them can be more significant than others, but in terms of really our life being at stake, getting into your car and driving while drunk, yeah, that's a big game changer. But most mistakes are not detrimental. We can learn from them, and it's really an aspect of our humanness when we share those mistakes with others, because I'm gonna bet that there's plenty more people out there going, yep, I did that. Yep, I did that. We live in this world where we value success and being seen as being perfect, and we can, edit our videos, and we can do all this stuff. We can edit our pictures to get rid of our little wrinkles and our frown lines and all that kind of stuff. But that's not real, people. That's not real. Real life is, we are imperfect, we fumble, we make mistakes, we screw up. And so here are my tips for what to do when you do it. The first thing is, the more you embrace it and you welcome it and you accept that it's a part of life, it's easier to see and you're going to be quicker to recognize it. So that's a gift. Being quicker to recognize it really is a gift. Second thing, don't focus on how you got there. Focus on what you need to do to make it right. So whether it's apologizing, whether it's, going to your boss and saying, I got to tell you, I screwed up. I got to own this. That is integrity and character building, you guys, really. And what it does is it actually makes people trust you more and makes people feel more comfortable with you. So recognize it, figure out how to right your ship, take responsibility, make any apologies that you need to, and then focus on the learning from it. Here's one thing that I noticed when I was making mistakes and I was focusing so much on how I got there. What I did was I made more mistakes. As Oprah says, we can, and I don't know that it's necessarily from Oprah or even Maya Angelou, but we continue getting presented with the same lessons over and over again until we learn them. Well, if we're focusing on what we did wrong and feeling shame and guilt and feeling bad about it, how are we going to learn? So we're going to keep experiencing the same thing over and over again. What I notice is, with myself as well as my clients that are really moving in this direction and embracing making mistakes and failures, is that people are not making the same mistakes over and over again because they're focusing more on the lesson and the solution as opposed to how they got there. So that is my offering for today. I really want to see you guys look at where in your life can you allow yourself to be more vulnerable, to embrace mistakes, to look at them as the gifts that they really are, which is truly lessons, and bring that into your own life and say, well, whatever, I'm a human being and I'm in the school of life just like we all are. We think the classroom starts when we graduate high school or college or graduate school. The classroom is forever. We are always still learning. I think, I joke around with one of my girlfriends, Shannon. We always say, like when we're 95 years old, we'll be sitting there and maybe at that time we'll have decided to start smoking, clove cigarettes. We'll be sitting there. Ugh. We won't even remember all the things that we did wrong. We'll just remember what we did right or what we learned or the lessons. So sometimes remembering, imagining yourself 20 years from where you're at, and you won't remember a lot of the insignificant mistakes, even the significant ones you won't remember, but you will remember what you learned, how you pulled out of it, and how you corrected. A sailor, when they're out at sea, if they get off course, they don't sit there and go, gosh, how did I get off course? I wonder where I went wrong. Wonder how many kilometers back that was. They don't do that. You know what they do? They look at their coordinates and they go, okay, how do I get back on course as quickly as possible? That's the name of the game. How do you get back on course as quickly as possible? How do you right your ship, learn from your mistakes, own them, and move on. And then guess what? We're not building in more shame. We're not building in more guilt. We're not building in more of that ickiness. We're not, staying stuck. We're learning. Now when I make a mistake, I go, oh, I made a mistake. I'll leave you guys with this last one. On Monday, my son and my best friend and I, the three of us, we were going to go see the Foo Fighters at Wrigley Field. And it was awesome. One of my most favorite bands. And I had worked in the morning, and then I needed to get gas, and I needed to run to the bank, and then I was driving us down there, and I knew, this was a sold-out concert 2 nights in a row, so I knew we needed to get down there. I wanted to find a place to go and get my son some dinner. So I get over to my friend Jeffrey's house. I'm like, we gotta go. And it took us about 45 minutes before we got out. And at one point, I could feel, the tension building, and I walked outside, and what I thought I heard in my head was saying, come on, dude, we gotta go. He comes out and he's like, why are you yelling at me? And I didn't fight back. I just said, we gotta go, we gotta go. So he goes and he takes care of what we just gotta do. And we can bicker, because that's kind of how we are at times. But we get into the car, and I said to my son, Aaron, was I yelling? Because I didn't have a whole lot of awareness in that moment. Because sometimes that happens, right? I didn't really have a whole lot of awareness. So what was I yelling? And he said, you were, Mom. And you guys, as a side note, I love that we have such an honest relationship that he can tell me those things, and we speak so truthfully. And I trust him. And so I had a sense that he was telling me the truth, even though I didn't realize in that moment. So Jeffrey gets in the car, and I said, I'm really sorry for yelling, and I really want us to have a good time. Please forgive me. And of course, he did what he does. He's like, oh, knock it off, let's just go. But I gotta tell you guys, it felt so good just to own it, to see it, to apologize, and then we went on and had a great time. Where before, I would have had some sense that maybe I might have yelled, played it over and over in my head, and then probably felt really bad, because it's not how I want to show up in the world. Certainly not how I want to treat somebody that I love and care so deeply about, and certainly not what I want to role model for my son. But he was sitting in the back seat when I apologized, so he got to see, hey, we all make mistakes, and I handle that so well, and there's usually a solution. So today, whenever you find yourself, or this week, finding yourself making a mistake, screwing up, or being afraid to fail, challenge yourself and say, no, this is learning, this is good stuff. Because if we're not failing, if we're not making mistakes, we're not trying. We are not trying. So that's my invitation to you. Open yourself up, make it okay. Tell yourself, yeah, it's okay. And you know what'll happen is all the people around you, they're gonna start to feel that vibration of, okay, it's okay to make mistakes, to be human, to screw up. And then it's like, it's okay. It becomes something that we all learn from each other. So enjoy your coffee today. I send you so much love. I hope you guys all have a truly wonderful week ahead, and I will see you guys next week. So again, like this video, subscribe to my channel. Please share this with your friends. Tell people about this. I really want to get the word out there. I'm hoping to be sitting under the oaks with Oprah, maybe next summer for her Super Soul Sessions. Dream big. What can I say? Peace and love to you. Mwah.